when we were talking about this session, Jonathan was keen that we found someone that could speak knowledgeably about what brands need to do to continue to make themselves attractive to investors. I'm delighted, therefore, that Anders agreed to participate in the session with me, because we could not have found someone more knowledgeable and better positioned to actually enjoy this debate. In addition to his 30 years within the industry, Anders is CEO of a company that owns 120 hotels, 25,000 bedrooms, across 10 countries and across 19 different brands. Most relevantly, however, for this debate is the fact that his organization's ownership and involvement in those hotels ranges across leases, across management contracts, across franchised operations operated by themselves, and significantly against unbranded own-operated hotels. So he is therefore perfectly positioned to compare and contrast the benefits and burdens of having a brand involved in the hotel. So Anders, start us off. Tell us, where do you see the brands in the value chain that you try to create?
Well, as you said, we have 120 hotels in 10 countries, and we have with 19 different brands, but also a lot of independent brands. So we can compare brand against other brands. We do that all the time. We also compare brands against independent brands. And what we start with is also looking at the value chain in hotel property. You can say that is about 10 different sectors where you can find different tools to create value out from a hotel property. The first one is macro, of course. The second one is hotel market, revenue going up and down. You have the management, brands create revenue. You have daily operations or hotel operations. You have investments. You have asset management, taxes and financing. All these here create different sort of values. And when you look at this from this as a value chain and put the brands there, I see very often that investors overvalue the brand performance. And the reason why I'm saying this is because that they think that the brands will take care of the investor's problem. You buy a hotel, you're smiling now, you have seen this before. You buy a hotel and you go to a brand and you think that they will fix it to you. They will not. So what I see very often is investors who has an overvalue, as I said, a brand, and also lack of experience to manage the brand, because you need to be very active to get out the value as you can maybe have in a brand.
Yeah, the reason I smile, Anders, is the analogy that I've used many times to owners is when the CFO of a branded hotel company stands up to do his presentation to the analysts, his first slide does not say, "This is the number of happy owners that I've got." His first slide says, "This is the return per share for my company."
Exactly.
Yeah. So it is a different agenda, but of course they should be in some ways parallel agendas.
But I mean, we should not just blame the brands.
No.
Because the brands, you can say that brands has three priorities. The first one is image, great image in a property. The second one is distribution or great revenue. And the third one, the final is, maybe the most important, is the customer loyalty and this loyalty program. And if you look at these three, a lot of things have happened the last 10 years, and even more have happened the last 5 years. If you look specifically on the revenue side, the distribution side. When I was general manager and I was CEO in a hotel company, there was lack of good distribution system, and all of them was controlled by brands. Now, as you know, there is hundreds of distribution channels where the customer can shopping around. It's like a TV channel. When I grew up in Sweden, there was 2 TV channels, both of them was boring. Now there is hundreds of TV channels. That same thing had happened in the hotel industry. So, and brand cannot blame that, but you need to understand that is not only the only way of having revenue is not just go by a brand. You can fix that yourself. Yeah, so you cannot say that you just blame the brands, because what they offer you as an owner is a global strategy, a global revenue strategy, focus on, as I said, revenue. What you need is a partner who focuses on the local business and on profitability. So if you think you get a second one, you will be very disappointed.
So in acquiring a hotel and making your strategic decisions, or in reviewing periodically any individual hotel, what are the factors that go into your equation of whether to operate it yourself, to have it branded under franchise, management contract? What are the different factors that you take into account in reaching the optimum decision for you?
Well, I look at this value chain always, and as you said, we have our Pandox business model is to be an active owner, and based on that we can choose between, as you said, management contract, leases, franchise, or independent brand. And what we see and what we try to do is very often follow the geographic area. So in Scandinavia there is a lot of leases, in North America it's more franchise, and there is a mix of it in Europe. And we follow and try to follow that sort of culture. We don't need to force in a lease in the United States, because we know that will never work. But okay, and the top of that is of course looking at what is the real need for the hotel to come up with the value growth as we're expecting. And I can say that there is normally two things who always we look special into, and that is the macro, and the second one is how to run the business efficiently. So productivity as the key word for us. If there is a possibility for us, and there is a potential of running the hotel more with higher productivity, we normally choose to go on franchise or go on independent. We never go on management contract. And that, I think, also investors underestimate that the most obviously important value driver is high productivity. When you're running the business with high efficiency, that is the one who create most value out in hotel property.
So what do the brands have to do, either in the management contract or franchise, what do the brands have to do to make their argument more compelling to you?
Well, to be a partner with me, because as it is today, when they offer me a franchise or offer me a management contract, it's not a marriage. What they say, they are willing to share my upside, but not my risk. And as you know, Clive, it's not a good marriage. So what I would like to see of brand in the future is three things. First one, I would like to see them change their model from brand model also into a model where they are more focused on daily operation. Second one, that they will be a part of my investment. They said, we are willing to invest, we would like to have more profit out of it, which is fine, but we are willing to invest. And number three, that has changed the internal culture of saying the most important man in our industry is the general manager. He's not the brand manager.
And when you're looking for that investment partnership, do you have a preference, whether it's sliver equity, they're sitting on your side of the table as well, whether it's guarantees, whether it's deferred incentive fees? Which rings your bell most often?
Turnover-based lease. I'm not asking about guarantees. Guarantees is stupid as management contract is, because then I am taking a low risk than the operator do. So I'm willing to go for turnover-based, meaning that I'm going up with the operator and I'm going down with them. Guarantees is something that just give me an excuse to not do my best. So we have a lot of turnover-based, pure turnover-based leases, just for example with Scandic in Scandinavia, and then we also share the investment. So they have their responsibility, and we have our responsibility, and we together based on a business plan that we create together, we investing in common and have common targets.
And in looking to operate yourself without a brand, or in effect creating your own brand, isn't that the typical owner's little ego trip? Aren't you really then building up back at head office an army of accountants, an army of diversity advisors? Haven't you got 100 people back there in Scandinavia running these hotels?
Well, Cliff, we are 30 people totally in administration in Pandox, and it's a 3.5 billion euro business. So I don't think we are too many in the headquarters. An independent brand, now it's about value. We had recently did this the hotel in Brussels, where that we had converted from an international brand to independent hotels. And what we see that we have control of the cost side. What we can see that we most likely will double the GOP. Not because we're doing fantastic job, but we had focus on the local business and profitability, not on revenue and brand standards. So that way we can create out much more GOP out from the hotel. And we have maximum flexibility if we go independent. Then of course it takes longer time to come into a market with an independent hotel, like weekend traffic. Weekdays, no problem at all. We do more or less after first 6 months, we do the same as our competitor weekdays. Weekends, that can take a little bit longer time. But longer time for me, as you said, I've been 30 years in this business, and I will be another 30, so if there will come in a year or two that the weekend business is not so strong, that had nothing to do with my investment strategy. So we are a long-term investor, and we have long-term commitments, and we know if we run it well, and if we have the right knowledge in terms of creating revenue, we most likely don't need a brand anymore.
But aren't the brand protecting you from the third-party OTAs? Isn't it a cheaper solution to have the brand with all its benefit and burden, rather than be in the arms of the OTAs with 18% commission, even up to 30% commission?
Could be, yeah. But also, you can manage even the OTAs. And if you have a good product in a good location, even they talk to you. So I agree that, and I think the trend is that there will be the number of reservations coming through third parties or from reservation system will be more and more. But they will be cheaper because even them will have more competition as they had before. So I believe that we are into a situation where we have these third parties we need to manage and live with them. So I don't see this as a problem. Then sometimes a brand could be like out in an airport, in a typical business district. That could be a fantastic value driver for you. But also very often in the city center, in a normal market, they could destroy value because it costs too much to run all their programs.
As a small aside, it's one of my passionate beliefs that we're going to have to redefine gross revenue and the management contracts, because the concept of a brand earning 3% base fee on business that they bring in through agents on which you're paying 22%.
Exactly.
In the cost base.
You pay twice.
So redefining that gross revenue to be net of OTA's commission is something that we would certainly love to see as asset managers.
I must say to everyone who is investor inside here, if you have the knowledge of running and building your revenue, and you have the right understanding of how distribution system works, you will have the same revenue more or less as a branded hotel has. Weekdays. Sometimes you could have a little bit less weekends, but you can run it much more efficient. So the brand's value is very often overvalued, I must say that.
How do you see, you've indicated to the audience, to us, what you're looking for in a branded partnership with the branding company, but how do you actually see the relationships changing over the next 5 years? If we sit on this stage in 5 years' time, God willing, and have this discussion, what will the difference in the relationship between owners and brands be by that time?
I will see that many brands will start to sign leases or will take guarantees or will step into investments. I think they have to do it to stay in those hotels that today they have management contract. And when they coming out, investor is stronger and stronger and more knowledgeable, they will ask for partnership in some way, and if they're not, they will lose them. Then the brands will lose many hotels. So I think that is one trend. Another trend, if I answer a little bit differently, I will say that if I look at hotel company today, I will split them in two pieces. One that I call those who sign leases, and one that is called those who sign management contract. And those who sign management contract, they are brand companies. They had focused, as I said, with global strategy and global programs. And those who sign leases are company who has the focus on local business and on profitability. And the second bag here, they will be the winner, because when rate not going up and the cost coming always increasing, the profitability will coming from better productivity. And better productivity is the company normally better into who's signing lease today. So they will taking many of these hotels in strong position, because investor, they will not care in the future what a name is on the building. The cash is what they were looking for.
Yeah, as one of my clients once taught me, there are two kinds of money. There's money and there's my money.
Exactly.
And you've signed a lease and it's my money.
You know, when we started in Pandox, we had a portfolio for about 100 million euro. Now we have 3.5 billion. That is built on cash, not built on prestige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we haven't found a way yet of taking revenue to the bank, have we? Only profit, unfortunately.
Now people always talk about trophy asset. We don't have any trophy asset. We have profitable assets, which I like. When we come into banks and we said that we increased the profit again, they said very well done. They never ask about brands. Yeah. They never ask about prestige. They never ask about the best address. They said, okay, you do your profit again, very good. And that is about. I think we need an industry change, that investors have to be the driver of this. For the brand would not. The brand has their model. The investor have to be in the driver of this industry change. Like saying, stop signing pure management contract. Management contract is most likely the worst value destroyer in our industry today. You allow someone have no commitment, take all the decision, and you continue to do the investment. Are we crazy? Am I a part of this business? Yes, I am. And who is the one who is laughing? They're the brand. They are laughing off our backs. And now this is investment conference. Let's talk about real value driver. Stop signing pure management contract.
Well, I have to say, I don't think I've seen what could have been called a pure management agreement in the last 4 or 5 years.
No, they'll start to get.
They're very different animals from the ones you and I saw. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been asked to keep it brief, not least to catch up some of the time from earlier on. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed listening to Anders talk about the very great diversity that his portfolio presents, and helping us to understand where the value really comes from within the business. So I'd be grateful if you would join me in thanking Anders Nissen.
Thank you. Thank you.